Locally Owned Murfreesboro, the podcast. The people and the stories behind what makes Murfreesboro matter. Where we get to know the people you need to know in and
No, you'll see yourself. There we are. What's up, Murfreesboro? Always dancing to our bop. We're so excited. Welcome to another episode of Locally Owned Murfreesboro, the podcast. We have a very fun guest today. Like, we just met, and I'm like, I feel like we're besties.
Yeah.
So,
New super fan loading.
Yeah. Hey. Oh.
We'll see.
We have Dr. Cecelia
gotcha.
with us from Southern Mama Chiropractic. So welcome.
Yeah, thank
How'd
you.
Pronounce your last name. Lisa.
It's pronounced Mikles. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, see, I'm originally in Nixon, and they're from like DeKalb County, like the Nixons. You know where Center Hill Lake is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like my papa's papa owned like the largest land. You know, so it's like a big deal.
Oh, my
volunteer, long term.
Way to go, Papa's Papa.
Yeah, Papa's Papa. So,
Yeah, represent.
Yeah, represent the Nixon. So yes, Michael. So I inherited that through marriage. Woo, marriage, right?
Yes. Yes, you went up a whole letter in the alphabet.
I sure did. I gotta wait just a little less longer.
I did too. I went up one letter. Score.
So nice.
You moved up to the C's. Yeah, you went.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm telling
Upgrade.
you. No, you went Jefferson style. Moving on it.
Okay.
Oh boy!
Wow,
All right.
all the references.
Well, let's dive into our show. So, Dr. Cecelia, tell us, how did you get to Murfreesboro?
Well, that's a good question.
Okay, that's why I ask it.
I know. So Murfreesboro, I think, kind of called me. God kind of landed us here because we left Washington State. I lived there for 35 years. And like I already said, my papa's from here. And my husband's in law enforcement for a decade up there. And we were ready for a change. We have 2 small children. And so we just felt the pull from God. And he was like, all right, we need you there. And right as we were leaving Washington in our RV, sold my practice, sold our home. Like we had made like a whoop. I think some people thought we were crazy. I was like, I think we are crazy.
Maybe a little bit.
And we landed here, and then my papa went on hospice, and we helped through that. And after that, I had this amazing opportunity to go work with a perinatal researcher in chiropractic in Southwest Florida. Now, I had already received my license, which is really hard to obtain a license in the last state. So I was like, okay, come on. I was trying to convince my husband. Now, he got basically we're going to conditionally give you this job offer with Naples Police Department. And so we were like, come on, we're going to go. They're going to finish up all your things there. Well, when we finished up all the things there, he just didn't get the job. And it was like, in our lands. And it was like, okay.
Wow.
And that's when we went, oh my gosh, God, okay, you want us in Middle Tennessee. We're supposed to be there. And so he got a job in Nashville. So he's been making the commute, and it's a very interesting police work there compared to even he worked in a county and saw a lot of awful things and was on SWAT. And so his job changed a lot through the city. And so that's been, a huge change. But that's kind of what really landed us in Rutherford County. So we've been looking, and we live like right at the south part in Christiana. And so I was like, okay, well, where can I put a practice that's going to serve families? And so I had found the Nutrition Factory. Mike, he is just the most wonderful man and the most giving person. And he has rented me out a room of his upstairs above the sweet shop. Downtown Simply Pure Sweets. Yeah, we love that so much. And so I'm like, oh, the car. And they have just been instrumental also in just supporting my business starting because it's almost a year old in November. So that's been really fun. Starting from experience instead of over again, from the beginning. Like the first time I started practice, I was like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Like coaching, like calling all these people, read all these books. And you're like, like I swear to tell, when I told my dad I was going to start my practice, my first one, he sent me, I swear to you, 20 books. 10 of them were Dave Ramsey, and they were like workbooks all with the books. So you're like, okay, thanks, Dad,
for the homework.
Like, I love you. Yeah, and so it was super, super sweet. I love where his heart was. I was like, all right. But this time it's been okay. I know what to do. I know how to. I want to connect with people. It's about joining the community and getting in. How can I help? How can we be of service? Really, because that's what chiropractic care really is about. Is about being of service. And so right now, new parents are really only offered like one option of kind of healthcare and kind of view of healthcare, especially here in Middle Tennessee. At least at home, we have naturopaths and people that can, prescribe antibiotics when we need it and prescribe drugs when we need it. And I totally live kind of in that nice world of thought, like I was trained in Portland, Oregon, where like we had to do proctology exams and on real human beings in a lab with a teacher and two men. It was awkward.
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
you realize I just want to go back up to Washington and crack facts and just get as far away from this as I can. But you realize that what they're doing, because there are chiropractors in Oregon that do, they use laser and they remove hemorrhoids. So there's like a clinic that's only about hemorrhoids and helping heal naturally through diet and things. And they, test your blood and they give people medicine if they need it. But a lot of what they
functional
do,
medicine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's really weird when you think of like chiropractic as a whole. Like, I'm not going to do that with my day.
That specialty's not going to be there.
No, thank you.
High fives and we're out. Yeah.
So your practice is called Southern Mama. So you specialize in kids for chiropractic?
Yes. I'm about to finally sit for what's called CACCP. So it's just a council that certifies pediatric chiropractors. So I started that about almost 9 years ago now. So I'm about to take my exam and just have that over with because, I became a mother in the time that I started that program and so many other things, now moving. And, COVID.
That's cool.
And that last 3 years. So so it's just been so fun and wild and just a great organization. And so, and a lot of, and I am certified as a Webster technique. And so a lot of people think of it as a breech technique. However, it's really just a pelvic constraint technique, which means mother's pelvis. So we're having nothing to do with obstetrics. We don't, yes, we work on ligaments of the uterus, but we are I don't diagnose a breech. That's not my job. I'm not a OB, right? I'm not a midwife. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is to help balance pelvis and decrease interuterine constraint for a baby so babies can make their passage into the way as easily and convenient as they possibly can. As most of us know,
so you help so babies
I was thinking like kids chiropractic.
Yes, and I do work on kids.
Babies.
Yeah,
okay.
So but I just because I recently went to Florida and worked with this amazing researcher, and so one of the main things that really changed my practice in Washington and here is knowing like when a mom comes to me with a breech, because still people come, the OBs love them, but we're gonna do they're gonna try all the things. Moms will try all the things.
Oh yeah,
and so it's like. If you were under care to begin, we would have been able to just keep your pelvis moving and keep, check every couple of weeks or so and make sure that, you have no problem with going into labor. But, these moms call us up. And so there's like I'm not sure, but what they're getting is fear. Let's schedule your C-section. Let's do this. Let's, and then unfortunately, that's not going to help anybody's, area relax. And that's the whole point of having a baby is like, how can I get myself into what we call parasympathetic mode, so that rest and digest. And as soon as we can get that here by, our mouths is connected. So if we can think about those people who are in labor, they're not going, oh yeah, this is so awesome. They're going, oh my gosh, So there's and before that, like, oh my gosh, my doctor wants me to be cut open. It's my first baby and I was wishing for natural birth. And so it just kind of hurts your heart because you're like, okay, breathe. And so honestly, a lot of the first 3 visits are just, hey, how's it going? How you doing?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. But what this researcher, he had some published study in 2015 showing that there was significant difference in what we call an umbilical trochanter angle. So basically at 35 weeks, every week, we measure with a photograph and we take a protractor and now we have them digitally. And so now we get to measure. And if it's at 30 degrees or under, we know that and if they're coming in for a breech, then we know this baby will turn. We just need to give it time. Because in reality, normal, awesome, healthy pregnancy from 37 to 40 weeks, the brain will double in size. So sometimes babies are just really smart. If it's really tight down there, they're going to go whoop. And they're going to come up here, build a brain for a little bit. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, you've relaxed, mom. Okay, I think I got the idea, and make their way down.
Yeah.
Of course, mom's going to do some things like inversion and some techniques and maybe try out a pool and hopefully come to a chiropractor. There's things, but with confidence, I can tell that mom, hey, this is going to help, da, da, da.
Yeah.
And so, and then then the adverse to that would be if it's above 30 and then it's consistently above 30, like I had a few moms this year, and we just say, hey, you know what? It's not fearful to have a C-section. You're going to have a beautiful baby in your hands, and they're going to be safe. And there's a reason why they're not turning. And we know that. And we've been bouncing your pelvis, and you need to, like be hopeful in that. And we're going to help you recover this way. And so it's more of like giving them a loving understanding that with now science, like I can say, hey, I have confidence that this is going to be this way. And not to say that, hey, your baby still may turn if you're above 30, but now I can confidently kind of coach moms in a different way rather than, welcome to the chiropractor. We're going to swing you around and, and your baby may turn around for you. It's like,
I just relaxed a little hearing her explain it. Like I feel like as a mom, just that thought of, oh, well, you're going to have a C-section. I know I had to, but my decision was a late decision. But like, I remember that fear of like, oh my gosh, you're going to have to what? And
I'm not a mom, but I know that I've done a lot of research on how our behaviors and our thoughts translate into like our baby's systems and psychology. So I can imagine the ease and comfort they feel if they have someone like you that can help. And sometimes it's just, I need another person's opinion outside of their regular OB/GYN or something, like it's like, okay, I just need someone else to say something, an expert.
And then a team effort to me makes so much sense. Like when you can communicate and help. That makes sense.
Takes a village.
I don't know. Like I'm already planning to have Dr. Cecelia like
you're like, you're not having a baby.
Do some cranial work on you.
I was just thinking like I'm gonna have her record like my meditation because she's just totally like calm me down.
ASMR.
Yes, I do have like a really good therapy voice that I get into sometimes, but a lot of it is like I don't forget, but my body is just in hand. Like I work with kids, so it's just like, hey, take a big breath for me, and I'm talking to an adult, and they're just like, oh, I like this, But some people hate it, And I'll tell you, I've worked for just the sweetest chiropractor up in Gallatin for a few months when I first started my practice, like right before I started open my practice. And so I was doing that commute and I realized, I cannot do this commute. This is ridiculous. What am I doing?
My gosh,
okay. But my husband was making the commute. So he was just like, you can do it. And he's supportive and loving. And he was right. I needed to go take this job and I needed to help in their season of their practice too.
Yeah.
But what it made me understand was just that, just being in another person's practice was not exactly how I was going to help people the most, I needed to be doing this specialty and doing this work that I have been trained to do. But they were like, hey, can you turn down the talking and I was like, all right. And then I was like, okay, turn over.
So don't be yourself.
Yeah. I was like, when you try to bottle yourself up. Because my thing is like, I realize that I connect with people, but I help them bring out their most authentic self because I'm truly always coming to the table being my most authentic self. Like we cannot be like magazine perfect and all these things. And social media now is so crazy. And I like pray every day for my children because it's just such a whole different world. They'll know right away when they're left out of something. And, everyone's plugged into that whole world. And it's just like, oh God. And my kids are 4 and 6. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. God have that anxiety.
It'll be fine.
Because I can't do
it. I'm a flashback to my childhood. I'm a total Grover. Like I'm like, like all the time. And my husband is a complete snuffleupagus. He's like, boo, boo, boo. So it's a good balance. But I want to match your energy. So it's like,
I
know. How do you not? I
imagine. It's contagious.
So you've told us a lot about chiropractic and how you got here. What is something we like to talk about struggles and wins. What is something would be, let's start with the struggle first.
As a business owner, what's the biggest struggle?
Gosh, as a business owner, I just would say finding the business owner, as a mom personally, is just finding that time. I know that, scheduling out, and I schedule out so many things, but finding the time to just schedule out when I'm going to work on my business. And also a lot of people in my world are bringing up this idea of being the CEO. and not being the mid-level manager that all of us have to be a lot of the time to get everything done. And so it becomes like, how do you shift into CEO and CEO mindset and work on your business and work on that part, and then still be mid-level manager and mom and wife and, all the things to everyone, doctor,
and not lose the passion that, like, I mean,
Yes.
you're hands-on with all your patients, and then you go into CEO role.
Yeah.
It's less and less of that.
Remember
and
your
so,
why.
it's very left-brained. And I'm really good at math and really good at science, but it's like I can get myself to left brain, but I love to be in my right brain. I love to be creative, right? You guys already get that about me. But that's just how we are, and that's how we should be, and that's how a healthy nervous system is someone who can shift right to left brain. And so that's what I do a lot with kids. And Dr. Melillo, Robert Melillo, he wrote a really wonderful book called Brain Balance. Or Disconnected Kids, excuse me. It's called Disconnected Kids, but he has centers, and there's one in Nashville called Brain Balance Centers. And so Dr. Melillo's technique is basically based on the idea that we have these primitive reflexes that we're born with. Like most people think of a baby and you think of Moro, it's a startle reflex. And so it comes as we have a proprioceptive type of it, we have an auditorial part of it, and we have a blink part of that same reflex. But these are all reflexes that we check, and there's a bunch of others that we check in children and in infants specifically. And I check them both sides. But when we start to see weakness on one side, then we know there's a problem. Now, in infants specifically, between the first 2 years, we know that's the most intense time of brain development ever. And the gray matter, which is basically the inside of the brain, is driving everything, and the white matter is what we develop throughout that next year by 3. Because basically, by the time we're 7 to 9, we finish proprioception, but at 7, we have almost an adult brain, 90% of an adult brain, which is wild to think about when you look at a 7-year-old.
Yes.
Scrawny. You're
out of control.
Yeah. Oh, adult brain, go away, please. But it makes sense why they could be so cranky. And I tell parents, I'm like, the brain just needs fats and sugars for sure. Just keep feeding them. Feed the good stuff too, because that will help so much. But and so we do these reflexes, and Dr. Melillo's work with the reflexes is his idea is that when we repeatedly integrate them, like let's say this child is past 1 year old and they're still having a rooting reflex, we want to integrate that. So they're basically going to do reflexes to integrate them at home. And so we give home care like that, along with obviously adjustments and doing cranial sacral therapy, which is basically just fascial work and doing gentle releasing. But the biggest thing over the last 2 years, I've been studying with Dr. Marty Rosen, and so he's an amazing pediatric chiropractor and craniopath up in Boston. I went to Boston in 2020. That made me grateful to live in Washington.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay. I'm grateful to live here. I was like, sat outside in this place called the Oregon Hotel, and it had this delicious, everything was homemade. It was really good food, but I was like, and I ate like a 3-course meal all by myself. And I was like,
needed to stay warm.
Like a queen. I was like, oh, this is how the medieval people felt. Like they must have totally felt like this, like, oh, I'd eat outside in my tent. And I'm the man, like, so funny. I was cracking up. I was like, all right, this is good. So good. But he teaches a lot. And so I just entered into his membership program, which is basically, I get to continue to study with him, which I have been for the last few years. But it's taking this cranial sacral therapy, this fascial work, and applying it through what's called SOT, which is sacro-occipital technique, which is a chiropractic technique, which is developed by this osteopath named Dr. D. Jarnett's, which there's a D. Jarnett's, in Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
That road. I keep going, okay, God, manifest me something here.
Yeah,
because it would just
That's how we say
it would make my philosophy heart so happy. I welcome to my chiropractic office on DJ Nets, and only my really nerdy chiropractic friends that are into my technique would be like, dude, that's so cool. Like they would deeply understand that.
People walk in, you introduce it, and they're like, I don't get it. You're like,
The patients
come in
would be
here,
like,
common folk.
They're like, I'm so glad you're on this busy road. My husband's trying to get me to look into this place on Broad Street, and he's like, look into it. I'm like, babe, can you imagine a tired mom with a baby in the backseat trying to get out on that busy road? That's not a good idea at all. They're sleep deprived. I was like, I love you. I love that you think like the exposure would be, right there on Broad Street. I was like, no, thank you. It's so nice though. Yeah. But I was like, not for what we're trying to do. So
nice.
It's interesting. thought process behind location
Yeah.
aligns with your
Yeah.
practice too. Like,
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
I'm like, that totally makes sense.
Like
I'm like,
where
I
you
wouldn't
sit
want to go out on Broad
Yes.
Like
Street.
where
I'm
you
like,
sit
get
your dog.
nervous, and I'm an
I
adult,
know,
not
right?
having a baby.
Exactly. I know, right?
Like,
Yeah. So Dr. Jeter basically was Dr. Marty, my mentor in Boston. He was his mentor. And he
Mhm.
told him, go learn everything about pediatric care and let's go
Oh,
together because he
nice.
was so amazing. He knew he has these neurologic reflexes that we know. There's a whole technique called chiropractic manual reflex technique. So basically, we can do abdominal releases to help with, ileocecal valve and, things like that to allow the body to heal. Because that's really all our bodies want to do continuously is heal, 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 heal.
Yeah.
That's why we can
It's
go out and cut. And it's like, whoa, look at that scar,
Yeah.
Look what my
It's
body is
amazing that what we
doing.
what we put in our body, it still like turns it into energy
Mhm.
because it's not what the body needs to make energy, but it's like, we'll make it happen.
But it
Yeah.
finds a way. I mean, that's the
Right.
most amazing part. And if you've ever seen a baby who's come out of the NICU or in the NICU, you just go, whoa, life has a way. And you see it and you just go,
Mhm. Mhm.
okay, God, I'll be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
I'll take it easy on myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, we love to sell it. We love to talk about struggles because a lot of our listeners
Mhm.
are small business owners and they feel it too. But what about
Mhm.
wins? What would you say is one of your biggest wins for your practice?
Like this, the newest one, or like ones in my career, or just
Anything that
anything.
comes to
Okay, well,
mind.
I mean, like first one I felt like was selling my practice and being able to like move the country. Like I felt like it was the country. I left a different country and I came here to this country and got a new
We
license.
think that
and-
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
and so it was like, okay, good. Yes. Because there's a lot of at home kind of people here that are just like me in the middle and we love it. And so it's so nice. But that was such a big win. But I think the biggest thing for me winning this year in this newest practice has really just been connecting with really awesome providers that have seen the value in my work and been able to see through the families that I've been able to serve and help. And so, the biggest thing was just, the amazing lactation. Like, gives me chills. Like, just they've been so amazing. That's been such a win in my practice and just in my life, I feel like. But having them knowing that, okay, these women are showing up in families' lives too, and they're showing up and helping these moms keep this nursing going and, keep their sanity because, it's just hard when you're like, all of a sudden I'm super anxious and I don't know what to do with this little thing and it won't stop making weird noises and,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
Where's
do
that
I
manual?
do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is
There's
none.
a lot of like,
Yeah.
like I'll have a first time parent. And what's so strange too is I'll have first time parents who've never been to chiropractor too, which is always like, okay, well, we're gonna have a little bit of a talk. And then
Right. Yeah.
and then we get into things and then they're like, oh, okay, I understand. But they're always parents are asking questions. They just want to be heard, and so
Oh,
I'm
sure.
grateful to have a space to be able to allow that. So I'm like,
Mhm. That's
yeah.
good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Coming up on 1 year, huh?
Yeah.
So what's one thing do you think that the public, I mean, you told us a lot about
Mhm.
chiropractic and all the, what is one thing you think the public doesn't know about you as a business owner that you want to share?
Oh yeah. Okay. So my husband is a disabled veteran, and so is my father and my brother, and my grandfather was, and so
Papa?
yeah, my papa.
Oh.
Papa Al Nixon, and so it was Al Nixon Jr. actually, and so my son is now Cameron Alvin Michaels. So he took over my papa's
Oh.
name, so it's like,
Nice.
and we've come back a whole bunch since my son was born. So like he knew my papa was sweet,
Oh, sweet.
and they always say Papa's in heaven.
Oh, that's
Oh.
It's so sweet. It's so sweet. So so veterans are someone who I love to serve as well, and so one of the biggest organizations that I work with right now is called the Patriot Project.
Mhm.
And so they are really working hard to get chiropractic services made readily available for, retired veterans, for active duty military family, and, basically get on TRICARE and be able to help these families. A lot of
Right.
chiropractors are around the bases, they're just trying to serve as best as they can.
Mhm.
But these things should just be they should just have these services. Like there should be chiropractic in the military, in my opinion, because
Mhm.
Mhm.
it could serve in a whole different way. I mean, we're helping people like they don't just need a drug to get over their foot pain.
Mhm.
One I got to listen in 2012 to this amazing speaker. She speaks for the Progress for Chiropractic Foundation. And she is a brigadiered general. So she was like the woman in charge of the boss of the
Oh,
base.
wow.
And
boss.
so she was
Okay.
the boss. She was the top of a base. She was the woman. She was the first female to graduate from West Point. And a chiropractor kind of sort of not really stalked her, but like heard her speak and like knew she was a runner. And she at that point was having all these problems. And so they've had her on these medications, and then that was causing more problems. And so she just said, hey, and so she goes, well, I'll maybe come see you when I come back. She was in New Jersey or something. And so she said, all right. And when she was on tour, she had to go on tour. This chiropractor sent her like a bunch of vitamins and some stuff to help her and some bars and things. So when she came back, she started getting under her care and realized, whoa, this helped my body so much. So now what she does in retirement is she just helps out this organization raise money and just speaks about how chiropractic changed her life. And it was like, oh my gosh, like I just always get like chills about the type of people that are in chiropractic too, that are doing other things, that like their maybe dad or grandfather was a chiropractor or something like that, and they're a paramedic, or they're doing something amazing, with their lives. And so, I just love people who, are in service, in any capacity. But that specifically veterans have like a sweet home for me. So what that means in my practice and what that allows me the opportunity is being part of this organization is that I basically can, allow, I pledge to offer services once a week to one of those. They fit in that criterion, and then they fill out a questionnaire afterwards, and then we submit it basically as a case study.
Like a research. Yeah.
Exactly. So then what they're doing from people who are part of the Patriot Project is they're keeping case study files so that when they go to Congress and when they go to try to lobby for these things and when they try to make changes, they can say, look, we have our own independence through these, documents, and we've made this difference. Like, come on, we have to make changes. So I think it's just great when people make grassroots, movements like that, and especially to help support veterans and veteran families.
Sure.
Like I just there's a man in Shelbyville that makes leathers. Russ, his name is, and he does hats. So he put together. He does leather patches, and then he makes knives and things. And men gifts is his thing. He wants to help men.
Yeah.
Because, I think it's really important that we have, really good gifts for men. And that's really sweet. Or just, men in the home is really what's important. But having gifts for men is hard. So he started this company. But the guys at the Viking on the square, Woods Viking, he was telling me that he does all their hats, and I was like, oh, that's so great. And I was like, now he makes my hats. I was like, cool. But he was telling me about their organization, what they do with veterans and how they, and I'm like, okay, how do I'm going to show up there and start throwing hundreds at them all the time. Like, you don't know me, and I'm going to be weird and like, hi, like, hey, I want to support your organization. I think it's so amazing because really, like, they're taking out young children who've lost their parents through whatever means through the military. And so it just is so amazing when people are doing cool stuff like that for veterans.
What's the nonprofit you're talking of?
Patriots Project.
The Patriot Project.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Oh, what's it called? Thank you. Soldier's Child. A Soldier's Child.
Yes.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah, Soldier's Child.
Thank you, Trent.
Yeah. Soldier's Child
Trent
has
with the
won a locally owned Light Up Local Award. Firefly Award before for their work in our county. Cool. So yeah. Okay, so Patriots Project. I want to read more about that.
Yeah. Go to my website. There's a link.
Perfect.
Nice.
And you know what? You can even scan the back of my car and it'll take
there
you
we
there.
go. Oh my gosh, I'm excited.
Welcome to 2023.
Yeah.
So strange.
All right, well, now's a good time to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Cultivate Co-working.
Cultivate Co-working is a welcoming community offering an alternative office space for independent workers, freelancers, nonprofits, and small business owners. Our goal is to help small business owners and independent workers grow their business and create a useful, lively network of like-minded professionals in the Murfreesboro area. Visit cultivatecoworking.com for more information.
Awesome. Thank you, Cultivate Co-working, for sponsoring our podcast. Check out cultivatecoworking.com for more information. It's time for the this or that segment.
Get with that. You can get with this or you can get with that. You can get with this or you can get with that. I think you can get with this because this is where it's at.
is where it's at, yo. Okay. So we
boy.
just
Oh boy.
y'all act surprised when I'm cheesy. So we're just gonna do rapid fire, this or
It's
that, and
cheesy.
you
Oh,
tell
gosh,
us
uh-oh.
which one you like.
All right, playlists or podcasts?
Playlist.
Got it.
supposed to
Fruits or
say podcast.
veggies?
Fruit.
She hasn't heard our podcast yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
she would
Oh,
say
okay,
podcast
okay.
if she'd heard it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Steve, right? Like I have podcasts, I like them, but I'm a playlist.
Playlist.
You
Gotcha.
seem like a jamming in the car kind of girl.
Yeah,
Sorry, I said
for
fruits and
sure.
veggies, and you said what?
Fruits.
Okay, yeah.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
We can be friends. It's good. And last, for you, babies or mamas?
Babies.
Oh, yay!
Yes.
That's
Awesome.
I know. I do
awesome.
love mamas. Though. Love you. But babes for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
And now it's time for our Be Present Nugget of Wisdom. Today's nugget of wisdom comes from Jenna Kutcher. Do you guys know Jenna Kutcher? If you don't, you probably need to find out about her.
Okay.
Show up messy, show up imperfect, but just keep showing up.
Do you spell it with a K or a C?
KUTCHER.
We need to know you.
We don't have to wait for the perfect moment. Just show up.
Show up.
It
Bingo.
helps.
Yep. That's a running
So,
thing
yeah,
with our
we-
podcast. Show up.
Hey.
Take action, right?
Shots fired.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
thank you.
That's great. Messy or not, show up. I agree. That hits me where I feel like to have good friends, you got to be a good friend. So show up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And then for work too,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. Let's show up. So
For
Take
sure.
action.
do it. Oh, okay. Take action. I
Yeah.
love
So
it.
thank you for showing up today for
Yeah.
us. How
Thanks,
can we, I know you
Mary.
mentioned QR code, but remind people how people can get connected with you.
Yeah, I mean, if they're on social media, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, that's a great place to find me. So it'd be Southern Mama's Chiropractic. You can also Google it. Most people have got Google.
The
You ever
Googles?
heard of that thing called Google?
Googles, yeah.
Google. No, I use
Google it.
yes. I have a website. If you find me on Instagram, my handle is Mama Chiro for Kids with a letter 4. And so there's a link there for my link tree. So if you need supplements, there's this thing called Super Patch I work with. There's a great company called Life Vantage, and they deal with decreasing oxidative stress. So they have a supplement that's really great with that. Yeah, it's FDA approved, 40% in 30 days. It's amazing stuff. Helped.
So-
God gave it to me in a way of I was praying for something post-COVID because the naturopath I was working with, my last semester was like a dream. People literally thought we were crazy because the naturopath, she did well visits and helped lots of postmenopausal women and a lot of women's health. And did, could prescribe and IV therapies. Well, she also did midwives, so they did home birth, and they had a group of them. And then the other group were a group of midwives, and we had one massage. So we had this little integrated place. Moms
wow.
could come get their, well baby checks, get an adjustment, and then leave or come for a massage, whatever they needed during that time. And it was right on the main street, so it was super cute. But at the time we kind of became this hub, for a while, and she got into kind of an argument with her midwives, and they kind of broke up a little bit because she wanted to help COVID patients. She's a doctor. She took an oath. She wanted to help these people. She had the means to be able to do so. And so she said, I'm sorry, I'm taking all the measures. I don't know what you want me to do. I have to help these people. They've been patients for over 15 years, and, I'm going to take care of them right now. And so she, took precautions and did that, but they had disagreements about it. So long story short, we started doing IV therapies with glutathione and with vitamin C and with all the things. And that was so helpful and it was so great. But my problem personally was that I was having a hard time with my smell and taste. And I was like, oh, life is so great without smell and taste. What is that about? I was like,
gross. Yeah.
No.
I grew up in Washington. We have wineries and breweries. Here it's great. Those things are awesome. We have, but it's another level there. So people love taste and love food, and they love it here too. That's why I love this place so much. In the Murfreesboro area, I mean, not
Yes.
even Nashville. Here in Murfreesboro, I feel all of the places are top notch. All the restaurants, all the people, all the entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, are so awesome and just so full of life here, you know?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the same back home. So that has been like welcomed, welcomed with so much just
good
joy
deal.
in that. But, going back to LifeVantage and the glutathione and how we got, my taste and those things was that it really just, God just nailed me into my friend who it fell into her lap because of her friend. She was doing all the research for her friend's cancer and found that what they're using, 7 out of the 8 compounds of the nutraceuticals, she was using them with her friend. And so she was like, oh, we were trying to get to that cellular pathway, but they, through this supplement called Protandem, they basically, and it's used in third-party research. That's why I like stuff like that. Like, I'm not like let's push a supplement, let's do this, but I have certain things in my practice that I'm like, this has third-party research and I love this kind of stuff. And people can access it easily right from a link. And I think that's super, super helpful. Because in this day and age, everyone's like, cool, I want it right now. I want that right now.
Right.
But what's so great is that these supplements are actually in 30 days really helping people. And I'm like, cool. I got my smell and taste back and I was like, hello. And I was like a little like, no, it's not really happening. It's not real,
Yeah.
I did get adjustments and I got my cranium worked on and that helped. Like I could taste better, but it still was like my smell was meh. And I could smell some things higher than I could before.
Oh, wow.
And it was a little off. I don't know. Y'all know your own bodies.
Yeah.
I would say you're your best doctor. Like you've been living in there longer than anybody else.
Oh, fair.
So
and a lot of people are grateful that it's just me. In there, so.
Yes.
That's awesome. So there's a link to that on the website.
Yeah,
too.
there's a link to that on that link tree and on my scan code and on my Instagram and all the places.
So all the things we can do to help you live your best life. Aw, we're so glad you're part of our community.
Yeah, I know. I'm so grateful to be here and like
thanks, Pawpaw.
Thanks, Pawpaw.
And all the Pawpaws before that got the Nixon family. That's awesome.
Yes.
So very cool. Well, we're glad that you're here. We are excited for you to celebrate your year, and we can't wait to see what else is going to happen for you in our town.
Excited.
So check out Southern Mama's on the square.
Yes. Mama
Right.
Chiro.
Yeah, the door is right
kids.
beside Simply Pure Sweets. If you don't know where that is, what's wrong with you? I'm just kidding.
Go there.
You don't know where that is.
Eat everything.
It's on North Church. So
I don't.
that's right. Thank you. I'm going to go have a loaded biscuit now. So awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Locally Owned Murfreesboro, the podcast. New episodes every Wednesday on all your favorite podcast platforms. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Locally Owned Borough.